freedom,
family,
world unity.
All these things and more will be discussed on this podcast.
Real stories, real people, real debates. On this podcast, we like to express our freedoms and talk about anything and everything goes.
Like freedom, family is important to us, and anybody that is listening, watching, or coming on the show as a guest star are all considered part of the greatest family to ever bless the solar system, the human race. No matter who you are, where you come from, you will always have a voice here on this podcast.
We like to flex our First Amendment, where all speeches and opinions are accepted for the right of freedom of speech. We have a saying we like to live by. Live life with eyes wide open. Being open-minded leads to true understanding of the world as it really is. Please, come, join us, and enjoy this experience as we embark on this journey of truth as we dismantle the subjective truth. I'm your host, Nick.
And I'm your co-host, Victoria.
And you're experiencing High Consciousness.
Disclaimer. Any and all information on topics presented are to the best of all who is present in each episode's knowledge. The goal of this podcast is to bring people together and set the example we all wish to see in our everyday lives. Whether it's home life, education, politics, history, business, etc. Any and all subjects can and will be talked and peacefully debated about on this podcast. On debate episodes, there will be a set rules of debate that hosts and guests alike must follow. We ask that you, the audience, like we ask of our guests, in the comments to please try to keep the language as clean as possible. We are a podcast for entertainment as well as educational purposes. Here we are all equal no matter what race, age, or gender. Thank you, and enjoy the show.
Hi, y'all.
And welcome back
to an episode of
High Consciousness.
I'm your host, Nick.
And I'm your co-host, Victoria.
And we are
High Consciousness.
Welcome back, everybody. And today's Thursday?
Yep, so you know what that means.
America.
A narrative history. Alright, today's episode is going to be special. It's all about Virginia.
And the very first two colonies in America, which was the new London colony and the Plymouth colony. Plymouth.
I know it's spelled like ply and mouth, but it's pronounced Plymouth. Because English is weird.
So anyway, I'll be reading today. And right now we'll be sailing the Chesapeake. During these eventful years, all but one of the 13 North American colonies and several more in the islands of the Caribbean had their start. After the ill-fated efforts of Gilbert and Raleigh, the joint company of merchants and gentlemen became the chief vehicle of colonization. In 1606, James I chartered a Virginia company with two divisions, the first colony of London and the second colony of Plymouth. The London group could plant...
Plymouth!
I said Plymouth.
You said Plymouth again. Plymouth again.
Plymouth?
It's Plymouth. Plym. Like phlegm, plym.
You got a lot of phlegm in your voice.
Plymouth.
There you go. I said Plymouth.
No, you didn't.
I could have sworn.
Run the replay.
Are you going to throw your challenge flag out?
Challenge. The Coca-Cola challenge.
Sponsored by Coca-Cola, huh? Anyway, the London group could plant a settlement between the 34th and 38th parallels, the Plymouth group between the 41st and 45th parallels, and either between the 38th and the 41st parallels, provided they kept 100 miles apart. The stockholders expected a potential return from gold and other minerals, products such as wine, citrus fruits, and olive oil, to free England from dependence on Spain. Trade with the Native Americans pitch, tar, potash, and other forest products needed for naval stores, and perhaps a passage to Cathay. Some investors dreamed of finding another Aztec or Inca empire, but there were in fact relatively few Native Americans in eastern North America. Some thought of a pirate base for plundering Spanish treasure ships. Few, if any, foresaw what the first English colony would actually become. A place to grow tobacco. Tobacco.
Tobacco.
Tobacco.
Tobacco. Chew tobacco, chew tobacco, chew tobacco. Spit. Boing. Boing.
From the outset, the pattern of English colonization would diverge from the Spanish. For one thing, the English had a different model in their experience. The Spanish had retaken their homeland from the Moors, and in the process worked out patterns of colonization later used in America. The English, after 4 centuries of sporadic intervention in Ireland, proceeded under Elizabeth to conquer the Irish by military force. While the interest in America was growing, the English were already involved in planting settlements or plantations in Ireland. Within their own pale, or limit, of settlement, the English set about reconstructing their familiar way of life insofar as possible. The term Wild Irish, which today seems more comic than serious, was then taken in dead earnest. The English went to Ireland, one historian said, with a perceived idea of a barbaric society, and they merely tailored the Irishmen to fit this ideological straitjacket. In English eyes, Irish Catholicism was mere paganism. What the English saw as a savage nation that lived like beasts could therefore be subjected without compunction. The same pattern would apply to the Native Americans of North America. In America, moreover, the English settled along the Atlantic seaboard, where the native population were relatively sparse. There was no Aztec or Inca empire to conquer and rule. Even without the example of Ireland, the colonists would have no alternative to settle up their own pales of settlement.
So wait, I just wanna like back it up for just a second. The Irish Catholics just may as well have been pagan barbarians in their eyes.
Yet to the English.
But why? That's what I'm wondering. Why?
Probably be.
You know what? Let's take a dip into the Matrix and find out.
You go right on here. Let's go.
Usually I don't like relying on the internet so much, but sometimes it gives me the answer. Why were Irish Catholics seen as pagan barbarians to the English? Okay, the Irish Times. Probably a good source there. We value your privacy.
We want your cookies.
No, but I don't want you to have my cookies, but you don't let me have the option to not have my cookies.
No. We want you to have
Manage. Why? Reject. Goodbye, cookies. Goodbye.
You don't want my cookies, huh?
No, I don't want your cookies. And I don't want your notifications either. Go away. Okay. Years ago, while the first year history undergraduate of UCC, I heard one of the many memorable lectures of Professor Don Chad O'Corraine. Although throughout the first term he had encouraged Goethe to muse, inspired, introducing early medieval Ireland to us students one far removed from comforting mythologies. In that lecture, he presented the reform of the Irish Church in the 11th and 12th centuries, not as a triumph of progress, but as a retrograde. He tied it to personalities, ambitions, and Irish sea politics. Okay, so we're in the year 1600, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
So this is
But this is one of the things about made English.
that, like, you gotta go all the way back to the 1100s. We're in the 1600s. How about that one? I get Wikipedia for that one.
History of Ireland.
I don't trust Wikipedia.
Cambridge.
Cambridge, okay. Maybe encyclopedia.com. Yeah, I'm gonna use encyclopedia.com. Can't go wrong with that. Christianity, they introduced ideas to change the culture of the society of pagan Ireland forever. The Christian doctrine and theology shaped the social behavior and altered cultural practice, yet much was kept that did not contravene Christian conscience as affirmed by some early Irish law tactics. Christianity, as the religion of the book, required literacy so that believers could read the Bible and perform the Latin liturgy, which with literacy in Latin came literacy in the vernacular, that is, in Irish Gaelic. The early Irish took readily to these intellectual pursuits, and Ireland produced the earliest and arguably the richest vernacular literature in medieval Western Europe. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess... Ooh! Look at that! Irish history does not come from Irish sources, but rather from the south of France, which in one of our in this later episode, we're gonna learn about the southern France people, the creed. What was that creed? I can't remember, but we're about to get into it here in a few minutes whenever Nick reads that over. But I'm just still confused, and it's not like really giving me, I mean, other than religious differences, but I don't see how the Christian converted Ireland was still considered pagan even all the way back then, because as it says right here, they reformed somewhere in the early 680 AD. So, there again, it's like, it doesn't make any sense to me, but I guess I'm just going to give up on this for now.
You're on 615.
We'll do a little...
Well, you're on 615 right now.
Wait, what?
Yeah, see, in Italy.
Columbanos died, which that's...
So
that's not...
We're still way too early.
That's still way too early, yeah. It's like, I'm going to have to probably scroll, just to find what I want. Oh, no. It only goes to 1004. What? Okay, so I type in something for the 1600s. Okay, you give me Viking period. See, this is where I'm going to have to probably just sit here and, like, read the entire thing, or maybe we'll do an entire different, episode for something like this to come back to. But for now, we're just going to continue on with the reading, because I feel like I just spent way too much time trying to look up what I was just trying to get.
No.
Maybe I should have trusted Wikipedia.
Should have just trusted Wikipedia. But anyways, so now we go into Virginia. In August 1607, the Plymouth... I said it again, didn't I?
Rather, you didn't say it right again.
No, I did not say it right again. In August 1607, the Plymouth Company landed about 100 men at Sagadahoc on the Kennebec
Kenneby River.
Yeah, the Kennebec. What's that? So that's C silent, huh?
So, Kennebec. It looked like E from here. The writing is so small.
So, on the Kennebec River in Maine, but abandoned the site after a hard winter of Native American hostility. Bungled and short supplies. Meanwhile, the London Company, under the vigorous lead of Sir Thomas Smith, a prominent merchant, had already planted the first permanent colony in Virginia. Excuse me, y'all. On December 20th, 1606, 3 ships borrowed from the Muscovy Company, the Susan Constant, the Godspeed, and the Discovery, sailed out from the Thames River with about 144 men. On May 6, 1607, having traveled south via the West Indies to catch the trade winds, they sighted the capes of Chesapeake Bay. Following instructions, they chose a river with a northwest bend in hope of a passage to Cathay, and settled about 100 miles from the sea to hide from marauding Spaniards. The river they called the James, and the settlement Jamestown, contrary to instruct to those in Ireland. They settled on a peninsula where the 105 survivors could see any approach from downstream and defend a narrow neck of land against the Native Americans. They were defenseless, however, from the mosquitoes of the neighboring swamps. So they got bit a lot. Finally, West Nile!
Next thing you know, you're covered in mosquito bites.
And sick.
Got the malaria.
Yep.
The West Nile virus. Mosquitoes. They deadly.
The colonists set about building a fort, thatched huts, and a storehouse, and a church. Captain Christopher Newport explored the James up to the falls near present Richmond, where he reached the limits of tribes dominated by the Powhatan. Powhatan. I always want to say Ton because of the A.
No, I think it's because you read Akhenaton a lot as well, and we had a very long conversation about Akhenaton, not too long ago, so I can't really blame you, but I can at the same time because I've already told you how to say that word 6 times before we started shooting.
Sanatana dominated by the Powhatan, and they sailed home.
The what?
Powhatan.
There you go.
And sailed home, leaving the colonists perched on the edge of the wilderness. The colonists set to planting, but they were either townsmen unfamiliar with farming, or fully 2/3 of them gentlemen, adventurers who scorned manual labor, ignorant of wood lore. They could not exploit the abundant game and fish. Supplies from England were undependable, although Newport returned twice in 1608, and only John Smith's leadership and their trade with the Native Americans, who taught them to grow maize, enabled them to survive. The Native Americans of the region were loosely organized in what Thomas Jefferson later called the Powhatan Confederacy. Neither that nor the title Emperor, which the English gave to their werewolves, accurately conveys the structure of their society. The Powhatan chief of the Pamunkey tribe had merely extended an insecure hegemony over some 30 tribes in the coastal area. Despite occasional clashes with the colonists, the Native Americans adopted a stance of watchful waiting. The reason probably was that Powhatan at first hoped for trade and alliance with newcomers who might serve his purposes, and realized too late their growing design to possess the country. The colonists, as it happened, had more than a match for Powhatan in Captain John Smith, a man of humble origins but rare powers, a soldier of fortune whose tales of exploits in Eastern Europe are so exaggerated or so extravagant as to strain belief, except that they stand up wherever they can be checked against other evidence. When the colonists opened their sealed instructions, they found that Smith, who had quarried with the expedition's leader and had been clapped into chains on board ship, was to be a member of the governing council. The council was at first beset by disagreement and vacillation. facilitation, but by force of will and ability, Smith was soon in charge. With the colonists on the verge of starvation, he imposed discipline, forced all to work on pain of expulsion, bargained with the Native Americans, fought off a season of gold fever, explored and mapped the Chesapeake region. Despite his efforts, however, only 53 of the 120 were alive at the end of 1608.
Ooh! Ouch. So, you began the year with 120 men, and either due to sickness,
starvation,
or natives, there's only 53 is left?
Yep. And
good night. That's like 67 people.
Yeah, well...
That's a little over half.
Yeah, well, new diseases.
Yikes.
New diseases. New diseases. And I wonder how many of those were women, or was this a straight 120 men straight colony? Because if you're trying to have a colony prosper...
That ain't it.
Yeah.
That's not the recipe.
Yeah. That's why I'm just like thinking over here like, okay, and how many of them were women and how many of them were men?
And also, another thing that I'm really curious about is this the same Captain John Smith that married Pocahontas?
Yes.
Why? Does it say that somewhere?
I mean, there's only one John Smith.
I mean, well, there could have been a couple of John Smiths. You never know.
No, I'm pretty sure it's the same.
I mean, John Smith is pretty common.
I'm pretty sure it's the same John Smith.
Captain John Smith.
Hey, you know what we should do? Maybe we should go make a trip up to the Smithsonian, to the Native American Museum, and find out.
1508 to 1613. Yep. Okay. Is he the same one that married Pocahontas?
This Captain John Smith, the same one that married Pocahontas.
Pocahontas.
Yep, same guy.
Oh, wow! Okay. You know what? That is a really good idea. Like, I've only made one trip in my life to early Jamestown where all that went down.
Mm-hmm.
Oops.
Freedom, y'all!
Freedom! That's right. We're talking about freedom! Anyway.
Blooper.
Goodness. I've only been there once in my life, and it would be a really, really cool idea to take you guys on a little virtual tour to just for the podcast. That would be super cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know what? We're gonna do it, and we'll let you guys know when we got the date set to go do it.
Alrighty. Well, in 1609, the Virginia Company moved to reinforce the Jamestown colony. A new charter redefined the colony's boundaries. And replaced a largely ineffective council with an all-powerful governor, whose council was only advisory. In a dramatic promotion, the company lured new subscribers from all ranks of society and attracted new settlers with the promise of free land after 7 years of labor. The company, in effect, had given up hope of prospering except through the sale of lands, which would rise in value as the colony grew. The governor, the noble Lord Delaware. Really?
Delaware.
A.K.A.
Delaware.
Sent as...
Is it really spelled that way? Like, I can't see.
Yeah, Lord Delaware.
War.
Delaware.
D-E, capital L-A, and then capital W-A-R-R. Delaware. Huh.
He was a noble.
Nobles. Why is everything named after a noble, huh?
No, because
it's always the nobles.
Sent as interim governor, Sir Thomas Gates. Thomas Gates. A.K.A. Bill Gates.
Well, we don't know if there's relation. You can't sit there. I mean, I guess you kind of caught my thought where it's like, I wonder if they are related, but if they actually turn out to be related,
no.
I'm going to crap my pants.
I guess Bill Gates pulled it on correct. My name's Bill Gates. Gates
no
on
relation.
election.
No relation. But what if they are?
And that's why he said no relations. Thomas Gates, in May 1609, Gates set out with a fleet of 9 vessels and about 500 passengers and crew. On the way, Gates was shipwrecked on Bermuda, where he and the other survivors wintered in
Bermuda.
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 Bermuda. Bermuda.
Bermuda.
Bermuda. Brr.
I know we're from the South, but dang.
Or okay, maybe to be silent. Bermuda.
No, Bermuda.
Bermuda? Are you cold, baby?
Yeah, like the Bermuda Triangle.
Are you cold, baby?
No.
I can feel a little burr going on. Brr.
Bermuda. Bermuda. We playing too much.
I see. Where he and the other survivors wintered in What are you laughing at with this?
Me. I'm laughing at myself.
And the other survivor wintered in comparative ease, subsisting on fish, fowl, and wild pigs. Their story was transformed by William Shakespeare into his play, The Tempest.
Ooh.
Part of the fleet did reach Jamestown, however, and disposed some 400 settlers, who overwhelmed the remnant of about 80. These leaderless settlers, said one observer, included many unruly gallants packed thither by their friends to by their friends to escape ill deities.
So, a little fun fact. I actually have a whole, big book from, 1940 that is the Old English versions, the day that, William Shakespeare wrote them. Or I guess, in Old English, I guess is what I should say. Yeah, they're written in Old English. But a 1940s copy of William Shakespeare's, all of his complete plays. So, y'all leave me a comment down below that says, do the play. And I will actually pull out that play and read it for you. Type in, do the play, if you want me to read it out to you in another episode.
Woo! Do the play.
Do the play.
The Tempest.
The Tempest.
So in other words, there was 400 settlers, 320 of them died.
There was how many?
Well, it says
400?
And who overwhelmed the remnant of about 80. I mean, how else am I supposed to take that sentence from?
Yikes!
Part of the fleet did reach Jamestown, however, and deposited some 400 settlers, who overwhelmed the remnant of about 80. So, should I take that sentence as...
That sounds like... We started with 400, and we ended up with 80. That is not the recipe for successful,
prosperity?
Woo! That's not the recipe for successful colonization.
Mm-hmm.
Good Lord. Just to think, with all these little things that could have gone way worse, if those handful of people didn't, survive all these, harsh winters and, the sicknesses and probably the raids from the natives, America probably wouldn't have happened.
Mm-mm. Not for the weak-hearted.
Yeah, this country certainly was not for the weak-hearted.
Mm-hmm. But their destinies were ill indeed. All chance that John Smith might control things was lost when he suffered a gunpowder wound and sailed back to England in October 1609. The consequence was anarchy. Anarchy. Sorry, I'm a little wet.
A little what?
A little wet.
Wet behind the ears?
That's right. She's a little wet too. Not like that.
Okay, so let's continue reading.
Continue on reading.
Just read.
Just read, huh? Well, I lost my place, baby. I'm starting to see 2 words over here. Maybe 3. But anyway.
What? Did you get enough sleep last night?
I did. I'm talking about that Modelo and that shot that I took earlier.
Are you? Wait, you took a shot too?
Mm-hmm.
I know you had that half a beer that I couldn't finish.
Mm-hmm. Then I took a shot.
Then should I be reading?
No, well, why should you be reading if we're already halfway through? We're almost all the way done. That's silly.
We're halfway there. Whoa,
oh no, we're low.
Living on a prayer.
We are definitely a little bit more over than halfway. Anyways, let me lose my spot. Okay, here we are. Consequence was anarchy and the starving time of the winter of 1609 through 1610, during which most of the colonists, weakened by hunger, fell prey to pestilence. By May, when Gates and his companions made their way to Jamestown on 2 small ships painfully built in Bermuda, only about 60 remained alive. All poultry and livestock, including horses, had been eaten. Oh, they ate the horses, the dogs, everything. They were hungry.
Like I said, not the recipe for a good civilization.
And one man was even said to have dined on his wife. And cannibalism.
Ooh.
Cannibalism.
Yikes.
Jamestown was falling into ruins. The Native Americans had turned hostile, and the decision was made to give it up. In June 1610, as the colonists made their way down the river, Lord Delaware providently arrived with 3 ships and 150 men. Whereupon, instead of leaving Virginia, the colonists returned to Jamestown and hived off the new settlement upstream at Henrico, a.k.a. Richmond, and 2 more downstream near the mouth of the river. It was a crucial turning point for the colony, whose survival required a combination of stern measures and not a little luck. Effectively, leadership came with Delaware. And after his departure under his deputies, in 1611, Thomas Gates took charge and established a strict system of laws, divine, moral, and martial, inaccurately called Dale's Code, after Thomas Dale.
That's Marshall.
Is that Marshall?
Mm-hmm. With a double L. And Marital?
That says that's moral.
No, moral and marital.
Yeah, that's what I said.
M-A-R... Wait, no.
That's what I said.
Marshall. No, that's Marshall. Because T-I-A...
Marshall.
Yeah. The sh sound. Because, English doesn't make any sense sometimes.
I see.
So, yeah, that's Marshall. Because it's not marital because there's no I before the T. The I is after the T. Just so you know, the spelling is M-A-R-T-I-A-L-L.
And all
which is why I'm like, it's martial, like martial law or something like that.
Well, it has martial right here, though.
Well, yeah, that's the other way to spell martial.
But that has no S.
There's a few ways to spell martial.
I'm intoxicated for this. I'm just going to keep reading. Thomas Doe, who enforced them as martial, severe even by the standards of ruthless age. The code enforced a militaristic discipline needed for survival. Under governors Dale through 1614, Dale 1614 through 1616, and Samuel Argyle 1617 and 1618, the colony leaped along until it gradually found a reason for being. Tobacco. In 1612, John Rolfe had begun to experiment with the harsh and biting Virginia tobacco. Eventually, he got hold of some seed for the more savory Spanish varieties. And by 1616, the weed had become an export staple. Meanwhile, Rolfe had made another contribution to stability by marrying Pocahontas.
Rolfe?
Rolfe did. The daughter of the Powhatan.
Wait. I thought that man's name was John Smith.
No, apparently Ralph stole
Rolfe? John Rolfe?
Apparently, John Rolfe took it in.
Then, wait, but the what? Hold up! Did the internet just lie to me? John Smith helped saved from death by a native.
Oh, Pocahontas saved him. Saved John Smith, but he did not marry John. But she did not marry John Smith. She married John Rolfe.
A Native American who allegedly fell in love with him. Smith played a key role. What? Okay, how in the... Okay, what?
Simple.
Wait, didn't we read somewhere that John Smith, like, his real name was, like, John Rolfe or something?
No, John Smith got shot. John Smith got shot. And then he had to go back to England.
There was no romance between Pocahontas and John Smith by the time he was 27 and the rest of the English colonists arrived on Native American lands in 1607. She was probably around 10. What? Oh, that's some BS because we did learn back in school that, okay, John Smith, okay, he saved the life of the English John Smith and married John Rolfe. Okay. So, wow, the internet gave me like 3 different things, and there's like history.com, biography.com. Those two say 2 different things. This is where, again, I say a lot of things have been like messed up or there are certain things that are not right.
It's Pocahontas. Pocahontas.
So, she married John Rolfe. It says right here, she married John Rolfe.
Mm-hmm.
So, she saved one guy's life, didn't fall in love with that one, but fell in love with the other John. Okay. Now that we got that straight.
And we're about to get...
But the internet did just lie.
And we're literally about to get right into it. The daughter of the Powhatan.
There you go.
Pocahontas had been a familiar figure in the streets of Jamestown almost from the beginning. In 1607, then only 12, she figured in perhaps the best known story of the settlement, the rescue of John Smith, who attributed to his own charm and English superiority what was perhaps the climax to a ritual threat of execution, a bit of play acting to impress Smith with Powhatan authority. In 1613, however, on a foray to extort corn from the Native Americans, Dale's men had captured Pocahontas and held her for ransom. To fend off the crisis, Rolfe proposed marriage to Pocahontas. Powhatan agreed, and a wary peace ensued. Distinguished Virginians still boast of their descent from the Native American princess. Sir Edwin Sandys, a prominent member of Parliament, replaced Thomas Smith as head of the company in 1618 and set about a series of reforms. First of all, he inaugurated a new head right policy. Anybody who bought a share in the company at 12.5 shillings, or anybody who could transport himself to Virginia, could have 50 acres and 50 more for any servant he might send or bring. The following year, 1619, was memorable in several ways. The company now relaxed the tight regime of the laws and promised that the settlers should have the rights of Englishmen, including a representative assembly. A new governor, Sir George Yeardley, arrived with instructions to put the new order into effect. And on July 30th, 1619, the first General Assembly of Virginia, including the governor, 6 councilors, and 22 burgesses met. Burgesses met in the church at Jamestown and deliberated for 5 days. Sweating and stewing and battling flies and mosquitoes, it was an eventful year in 2 other respects. The promoters also saw a need to send out wives for the men who, Sir Edwin Sandys noted, by defect thereof, as is incredibly reported, stay there but to get something and then return for England. During 1619, a ship arrived with 90 young women, to be sold to likely husbands of their own choice for the cost of transportation, about 125 pounds of tobacco. So...
Good night.
We are getting into human trafficking.
It's like, oh yeah,
So-
you can go have a husband of your choice. You just gotta give me 125 pounds of tobacco. Oh boy.
So now we know where the women came into play now. And I thought...
So I guess all those other colonists were men. They were men.
The straight up men.
Just straight up men.
So I...
Well, it did say that one of the colonists like ate on his wife. So okay, maybe not, but those are probably all the men that lost their wives to the sicknesses and the diseases, the raids and stuff. Because that show Netflix Frontier does make a pretty good point about how, like, you know, the Englishmen, if they turned on each other, they also, you know, pillaged and killed the women and children of the enemy, you know, whoever it was that they outcasted in the town.
Terrible.
Just like Jason Momoa's, you know, character from Frontier.
Mm.
And it was because he decided to have a native wife rather than an English wife, which is the whole reason why he was excommunicated from the colony that he was a part of in the first place.
How dare you have a Native American wife? We have a native right here. She's English.
Yeah.
English! English? Well,
It seems like the English in their ways were just pretty messed up and pretty prejudiced at the time.
that's right. That's right. Therefore, our own presidents fall into our genetics.
So prejudiced that they didn't even consider their Irish Catholic, you know, brothers and sisters as their brothers and sisters. They viewed them as less than human.
Wow. Oh, well, yeah.
Ooh. Well, give it to us.
Oh, no, it's not that. I'm not saying it. It's the N-word.
What? You could... Oh! Oh, it does say that! Ooh.
With no, yeah, and then...
But it's spelled in a different way.
It's
not spelled in the offensive way. It's
No.
spelled like as if Negro just with an A.
with the R.
Or with the A and the R switched.
And no S. I mean, no O.
Yeah, no O. It's just O takes place of an A, and it's just. But still.
And a Dutch man of war, according to an anonymous note in John Rolfe diary, dropped by and dropped off 20
Negroes.
the first blacks known to have reached English America. And war.
You were fin to say it. Oh my god. I can't believe you were actually about to say it.
I mean,
I can't believe I just saved you. I saved him. I so saved you.
Save me from cigars.
Yep, totally from cigars. Black cigars.
It would be another year before the fable. It would be another year before the fable Mayflower came. Oh, we just had Mayflower too.
Yeah, we had Mayflower for lunch today.
Despite its successes, the company again fell upon evil days. Sandys quarreled with other leaders in the company, and in 1622, Powhatan's brother and successor, Opechacanaca.
The what? Opechancanal. Opechancanal?
Open your chin canal.
Yo, what? Hold up. We're gonna take a dip into the Matrix so y'all can see this. Like, what?
Look at this guy's
Look
name.
at the Opechan. Chan.
That's
Oh, there
it
it
right
is.
there.
There it is. This guy. This guy right here. Good night. That is one heck of a name. Oh, he looks scary.
You're typical Native American. Feather necklace.
That's a
Shirtless
portrait.
feather necklace.
No, it looks like he has a shirt on. It's just like a silk shirt or something, or not silk, but a
Hide skin.
hide skin. Yes, thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Not silk.
Open your chin enough. Open your chin enough.
Open enough.
Open enough.
Open enough.
Led a concerted uprising which killed 347, including John Rolfe. Some 14,000 people had migrated to the colonies since 1607, but the population in 1624 stood at a perilous 1,132.
Hey.
1,132.
I got a question.
Hmm.
Can
you open your chin enough?
Was Rolfe the son of a shepherd?
I guess so.
Was he the son of a shepherd?
I believe that's Ralph.
Come on.
That's Ralph.
No, Rolfe. That's his name.
Yeah, Rolfe.
Rolfe from Ed, Edd and Eddy.
I thought it was Ralph.
No.
I thought it was Ralph.
No, it was Rolfe.
You sure?
Rolfe will not be insulted. Rolfe is the son of a shepherd.
I'm pretty sure
it's Rolfe. It's Rolfe.
It's Ralph.
I promise you, it's Rolfe.
No, babe.
It's Rolfe.
I might be a little wet behind the ears, but I'm pretty sure it's Ralph.
It's Ed, and Eddy.
Ralph.
It's Rolfe.
Ralph.
Told you, Rolfe.
Ralph.
Rolfe, a character from the show Ed and Eddy. That is very easy, wise guy Eddy. What happened to my head? It is so beauty. You have an invitation over just Ed boy? The crowd calls at midnight, and the cat sours the basil. Rolfe was my favorite character, bro. I told you it's Rolfe. He is the son of a shepherd. He that man with a stick. He Moses with a stick.
Mm-hmm.
He Moses with a stick.
No, that's Johnny. With blank.
No.
I know you tell me about the son of a shepherd, but the one
The son of a shepherd. He's that man with a stick.
Nuh-uh.
He always got the shepherd stick with him.
No, you gotta Ralph.
Every time we see Rolfe at home, he's always got the stick. He's always got stick.
I feel like I'm having a Mandela effect here. But anyway, despite the broad initial achievements of the company, after about 1617, a handful of insiders had engrossed large estates and began to monopolize the indentured workers. In a tobacco boom of those years...
Endured? You mean indentured?
Indentured. I said
Why don't you read that one more time?
I said indentured.
No, you said endured.
I didn't. Well, I did endured.
Hit the replay.
Despite the broad initial achievements of the company, after about 1617, a handful of insiders had engrossed large estates and began to monopolize the indentured workers.
It's INDENTURED.
You need dentures?
No,
Okay.
I don't need dentures, but your granny does. No offense, Grammy Elaine, if you're watching.
What?
It was just a joke.
I'm about to say.
It was just a joke.
My grandma has fine teeth, thank you.
Yes, that she does. She has
Okay.
pretty straight teeth.
Yeah.
She's a very beautiful old lady.
And a
And a very scary old lady, too.
In a tobacco boom of those years, some made fortunes, but most of the thousands sent out died before they could prove themselves. At the behest of Sandy's opponents, the king anointed a commission to investigate, and on its recommendation, a court dissolved the company. Virginia became a royal colony. The king did not renew instructions for an assembly, but his governors found it impossible to rule the troublesome Virginians without one. In an annual assemblies met after 1629, although not recognized by the crown for another 10 years after 1622, relations with the Powhatan Confederates continued in a state of what the Governor's Council called perpetual enmity.
Perpetual enmity.
Perpetual enmity.
Enmity.
Until
And this one is spelled ENMITY.
Until the aging up into chin enough. Up a chin enough. Up enough. Staged another concreted attack in 1644. The English suffered as many casualties as they had 22 years before, but put down the uprising with such ferocity that nothing quite like it happened again. Sir William Berkeley, who arrived as governor in 1642, presided over the colony growth for most of the next 34 years. The brawling populace of men on the makeover which he held sway was a far cry from the cultivated gentry of the next century. But among them were the Birds, the Carters, Masons, and Randolphs, who made the fortunes that nurtured the celebrated aristocrats of larger generations.
Huh.
Also, secret societies.
That's interesting.
Oh, God!
That's interesting. The Randolph, seeing how Mark Randolph is related to Edward Bernays, who is related to Sigmund Freud, who Sigmund Freud is... I really do believe he was a Freemason as well, Mr. Sigmund Freud. So it's just like, But this is Randolph well before Randolphs were mixed with the Sigmunds, but still, who's to say that they're not all part of the same? And the Carters as well, which, we have Jimmy Carter, who was our former president, and what if this bloodline goes all the way back to them? But there again, there has been an 8th grader, or they were an 8th grader at the time that they made the video, where they discovered that all the U.S. presidents, except for Donald Trump, was related to King Henry of England. Or King John. One of the two. King John or Henry. One of the two.
You mean King Charles?
No, it was John. Or Henry. One of the two. I believe John. But it was not Charles.
It's one of many.
That is interesting.
And that is it for today's episode, y'all.
Yep. So, like we said, leave a comment down in the comment section below if you want me to read the William Shakespeare's play in Old English as it was written.
The Tenant.
The Tempest.
The Tempest.
The Tenant.
Hey, that's a good
The
movie.
Tenant.
That's a good movie.
No, that's The Remnant.
No, that's in the movie.
No, wait. There is a movie called The Tenant. That's right. That's right. That's a good movie. Okay, yeah.
Were you by the movie? Boop.
I thought you were. That's why I was preparing. I was like, oh no. But anyway, y'all, leave a like, a comment, subscribe to our channels. Remember, we are on YouTube as well as Rumble, and be sure to follow us on our socials on Facebook, X, Instagram, all that other good stuff, and True Social. We're also on True Social. I always forget about that one. I don't know why.
It happens.
It happens.
And also, y'all got to remember to live life with eyes
wide
open.
And thanks, y'all, and we'll see you on the next one.
Woo!